Alright traders, today we're going to be talking about neural associative conditioning and programming the trading mind. And this is really nothing more than an overview of some of the key principles that I used in developing the strategies in the course and some things that you can do to improve your trading habits. Now, neural associative conditioning gets its foundation from neuro-linguistic programming, and it's the primary psychology and language strategies utilized by Dr. Milton Erickson to shift the internal representations and therefore the experiences and the behaviors of patients. Now, key words here, guys: internal, representations, experience, and behaviors. Defined: the science of neural associative conditioning is a system that describes the process of change in human beings and is based upon the premise that there are two determining reasons for human behavior. Number one is the need to avoid pain, and number two, the desire to gain pleasure. Now, guys, you've heard me talk about it a lot, well, a couple of times anyway, about my background and what it is that I did and how I got involved with, neuro-linguistic programming. But for those of you who haven't heard or aren't familiar with it, I spent a lot of time in the military vetting, recruiting, and training special operations troops. And one of the things that I learned very quickly was my ability to select the right individuals was really determined upon only one key factor. And that key factor was, did this person want to be there? And how badly did they want to be there? Did they want to be part of the team? And the way I assessed that was through through an indoctrination course where we put them under some significant rigors, and we tested their pain threshold, their pain avoidance threshold. At what point did they get fed up and say, "Hey, look, this is not enough. This is not for me. This is not worth the pain and the discomfort that I'm going through to be part of." And what I was really looking for was, did this person have an extreme desire to be part of what I was offering? And through testing this pain avoidance, I was able to do that. And if you guys, any of you who who had a chance to talk with me before signing up for the course, will know that I asked a series of important questions in qualifying anyone who wants to come into the program. And ultimately, guys, what I'm looking for is, do you really want to be here? Because, guys, if you really want to be here, if you really want to be part of the process, there's going to be some pain. There's going to be some discomfort. There's going to be times when things are not working out the way you wanted them to. And is this something that you really want to stick to, that you really, really want? Or is this a flight of fancy? And so, as I tested that pain threshold of those potential candidates, I began to identify who was going to be successful and who wasn't. Who was I going to be able to work with and who was I not? Because, guys, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me how smart a guy was. I could take a look at a GT score. In the military, a GT score is like it's like an intelligence test. And I could take a look at a GT score and say, yeah, this guy's intelligent. We had minimum requirements for intelligence standards that you had to meet so that you could be able to learn the information that we were going to teach and retain it. But ultimately, those were not excessive. You didn't have to be a genius. I would have never, I sure would have never made it. But and the other thing is I really didn't care physically how strong they were or how fast they were. And again, they couldn't be broken, they couldn't be morbidly obese and still get into the program. But if they had a general, conditioning and fitness, they were acceptable because I knew that I could make them stronger. I could build them up physically. If they had a basic intelligence level, I could teach them the information that they needed to know in order to be successful and to be a valuable member of the team. But ultimately, guys, I couldn't do either one of those if I didn't know whether or not they wanted to be there, if they didn't have that desire and that drive. I called it heart. I said, I can make you stronger, I can make you smarter, I can't give you heart. I can't make you want to go when everything in your body is saying don't. And guys, what I found was that once I had identified, yes, they are willing to go through this avoid pain, the ability, the desire to gain pleasure, the desire to achieve and to be successful and to get into the program was far greater than their need to avoid the pain and discomfort of getting into the unit. Well, then we could move forward. And as we start to recondition the mind and reprogram the mind with a different set of standards and a different set of rules, I was amazed at what I found. And again, not only in my own life, but also in my ability to help these trainees, these candidates, achieve far beyond even their own wildest expectations. Physically, what I found was the mind quits long before the body does. And what I found was that by reprogramming, using a system of neuro-linguistic programming, neural-associative conditioning, and constantly readdressing that pain threshold, I could begin to move the barrier. If, for example, a guy could run 5 miles the first time that we did it before he began to fall apart and then he would stop and start to walk, or before he'd start to slow down his pace and the pain would begin to take over and his brain would begin to say, no, 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 you've reached your limit now. You cannot go any further. Slow down, dial it back. If 5 miles was the first stretch, by continuing to retest that pain threshold, I could begin to move it. And suddenly 5 miles becomes 6, and 6 becomes 12, and 12 becomes 20. Until we reach a point where it no longer is a factor. There is no pain threshold. And this is where, in units that I was involved with and in the training of candidates that I did, where you really had to be careful. Because there were men at the end of the training and that were in the units that if you were not careful, you could push them until you did serious damage to them. Because they were so accustomed to this pain avoidance, or so accustomed to ignoring this aspect, that they would literally, if you told them to run, they would run until they fell over and died. And you hear stories about this in the military, about guys just going until they flat out just die of heat exhaustion. And guys, that's the power of the mind. Is that, there's a point that you can train your mind to do anything. That's the power of the subconscious that we talk about. It's the best example that I have, guys, that I can give to you to impart on you, because everyone has known what it's like to try and run a mile when you're out of shape. And just the extreme pain and discomfort that you feel. The same pain and discomfort that you feel, most of you, every time you come into the markets. And the best story that I can give you is the one that I learned in the military, and how I came into learning about neuro-linguistic programming. And NLP has been used in the military for a long time. And it's designed around the concept of instant willing obedience to orders. I tell you to do this and you react. You do it without question or comment. And the military uses that mentality. They use that in neuro-linguistic programming, so that when we go to combat and it's time to charge the machine gun nest, when it's time to charge the pillbox, that the troops actually do it. Because in war there has to be a chain of command. There has to be people who give orders and those who follow them. And the ones who follow them have to do so when it's required. It can't be time to charge the hill and half the people go and half the people don't. It takes everyone working together. And so from the time you get into the military, from the time you get into, boot camp or basic training, whatever it is that you do, all the way up until it's time to go to war, every day is spent building that neural associative condition, that neuro-linguistic programming, in order to facilitate, cohesive units when it's time to drop them into a very, very dangerous and deadly situation, what we call the fog of war. And guys, we see that in trading as well. Everything that we do, from the back testing to the forward testing, paper trading, takes us up into war when we enter the markets with live money at risk. And that fog of war gets into our mind, where we begin to be captured by or in a trance by what's happening in the markets, and we get that tunnel vision, the same type of tunnel vision that you get in combat. And for any of you who've been there, you know what I'm talking about, that fog of war, that tunnel vision. If you police officers who've been in shootouts, the same thing. The vision narrows. We start to not to be able to, we don't take in anything other than what we're immediately seeing. And for those of you who hang tick by tick in the markets, you begin to identify, hey, I've got tunnel vision here. I need to take a step back. I need to regroup myself. But again, that's what this is based around. Everything that we do, 99.9% of the things that we do in life are in the desire to avoid pain or the desire to gain pleasure. And guys, this is, once again, I just wanted to tell you a little story about how I got involved with neurolinguistic programming and the effects that I've seen in the real world using this process, and why I believe when I was looking at what type of program I wanted to have, what type of program I wanted to teach, I just felt so strongly that this had to be, a focal point, a center, a pillar of the program. And so, as we walk through this, it's so critical that you begin to assimilate this, and you have to watch this again and again and again if necessary in order to really understand what it is that we're talking about. But first, let's determine what drives you. All right? When entering a trade, are you more driven by the possibility of a winner? Use a what-if question. And then the association of what the money you make represents to you. Okay? So let's do it like this. Ask the what-if question. If this trade goes against me, or what if we go straight to target? What is the emotional reaction that you get from that? Now, see, for most traders, when I meet them, they are losing money in the markets. I mean, we know that 90% of traders lose money, and that's probably a conservative number. I would imagine it's, in reality, probably much higher than that. But, 90% of traders lose money, and those who are coming to me are typically coming to me out of a sense of pain avoidance. Because for them, trading equals pain. Because for many of them, and maybe for you as well, they've never been successful in the markets. They've never made money. So every time they come down almost with an anticipation of losing. And for some of them, they actually take comfort in the losses because it's not new to them. They don't like losing, but losing is comfortable. And so when I ask you these questions about, hey, are you more interested in taking joy from the winners or taking pain from the losers, what I'm really getting at is, hey, what about redefining what brings us pain and what brings us pleasure? What if instead of saying winners bring me pain, winners bring me pleasure and losers bring me pain, we said following a system of rules, following a system of guidelines brings me pleasure, and not following those rules, not following that system brings me pain. Guys, I will tell you there is nothing more painful to me than finishing out the day of trading and going back and looking and doing my review and seeing that I took trades that I shouldn't have taken, that were outside of my trading plan. I am virtually indifferent to losing money if I follow my trading system. If I follow my system, if I follow my plans and I lose money, virtually there's no emotional attachment there. because I've trained my mind to accept following my rules as bringing me pleasure. So if I walk away the day a loser, but I follow my rules, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. Because I know if I follow my rules consistently, I'm going to be successful. But guys, even if you're able to be consistently profitable with a neural associative condition that winning brings me pleasure and losing brings me pain, at a bare minimum, you're just going to be on a roller coaster emotionally in your trading. And our goal is to eliminate as much emotion as we can from the trading process. Because we know that emotion is the driving factor of why most traders fail. It's not because they don't have a system that works. It's not because they don't have the intelligence to be able to do it. It's because they don't have the emotional self-control to follow a system, to follow a set of rules. They don't have any discipline. And so by focusing and directing our attention to that, we can begin to change their neural associative condition and in the end change their habits, which will lead to success. And what could happen if? Now, how the brain works. In order for the brain to efficiently evaluate how to rapidly accomplish these two tasks, you must create neural associations. Associations within the nervous system that are used to instantly determine the meaning, pain or pleasure, of situations, people, things, sounds, emotions, etc. The neural associations are the direct force of all human behavior. Now, let me say it again. The neural associations are the direct force of all human behavior. Guys, everything that we do in life, every perception that we have, is a direct result of conditioning and of our history. You guys have heard the saying, perception is reality? Absolutely 100% true. If you believe it's true, it is true. Do you believe you can be successful? Then you can be. Do you believe that you're already successful? Because if you believe that, then you are. The power of the brain is an incredible force. Do you believe that when you come in and sit down and trade today that you're going to lose money? Be honest with yourself. If that's what you believe, then that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to be. And our history and our conditioning is what drives those neural associations. And so by confronting those and redefining those neural associations, we can begin to redefine expectations and redefine habits. But because of this, these neural associative conditionings and the directing force on all human behavior, this is why we can use price patterns to determine with some degree of consistency where the market's going to go. Because human beings are all the same. And throughout history, prices have moved in patterns. And the reason they have is because people are driven by the same factors, fear and greed. And no matter how many years we're in the market, we continually get this turnover of new traders who come into the market who are fear and greed driven, and therefore the market reacts the same way over and over again. See the same price patterns. Now, 5 steps to change. Number 1, know what you want. And we've got to clearly define that. And I always advocate setting weekly, monthly, yearly goals. I don't like daily goals. And the reason I don't like daily goals is I think if by setting daily goals, what ends up happening is that you end up trying to make up losses. You end up trading outside of your trading plan, trying to make a specific number of pips or specific price target each day. Rather than do that and put that additional stress on you every day, I like to take a look at the end of the week and say, hey, end of the week, did I meet my goals? And then if I did, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't, then we need to evaluate, did your trading model, did your trading system allow you the opportunity to make those pips? Because guys, sometimes in your trend following system, the market's not trending. And you go back and review your trading plan and say, look, I took every trade, I did it right, I followed my rules of engagement, and the model didn't present me the opportunity to make my weekly goal. Well, guys, there's nothing you can do about that. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have losing days, you're going to have losing weeks, and on occasion you're going to have losing months. But if you continue to trade consistently, you're going to be consistently profitable. And over the long run, you're going to make money. But you have to know what you want. You have to clearly define those goals. Number 2, know what's preventing you from getting what you want. Is it fear, greed, a lack of consistency, position sizing, psychology? What is it? What is it in your life that is preventing you from getting what you want? And if you need help with this, guys, give me a call, send me an email, contact me. Let's work on this, on what is preventing you from getting what you want, because it is so important to know what's broke so we can know how to fix it. So again, step 1, you got to know where you want to go. Step 2, you got to know what's preventing you from getting there. Step 3, we want to interrupt the pattern or break the old behavior that is preventing you from getting what you want and getting to where you want to go. Then once we've broken the old pattern or behavior, then we have to choose to install a new pattern or behavior that you do want, something that will help you achieve your goals and get you where you want to go. And then, last but not least, condition yourself for the new behavior or pattern. Now, the way we do this, again, through the live trading room 3 days a week. We do Monday morning training session where we begin to install new habits, new behaviors, and then we go out and we condition on a daily basis those patterns and behaviors. Now, guys, we know that it takes 18 to 30 days to break an old habit, 18 to 30 days to install a new habit. 60 to 90 days to fix what's broken. And ultimately, guys, what I've always said is your goal should be consistent profitability. Because for right now, for many of you, it's not that you're not making enough money, it's that you're not making money. And for some of you, you're losing money. But you're not consistently profitable. And guys, your goal, if your goal is consistent profitability, then you're on the right track to untold success. Because if I can turn winning days into winning weeks, and winning weeks into winning months, I can turn winning months into winning years. And pretty soon, it becomes second nature. Winning becomes the pattern. Winning becomes the expectation. Instead of coming to the markets and not knowing what's going to happen or just figuring we're going to lose more money today, we come to the market expecting to win. And guys, when we come to the market expecting to win, when we come to the market with that anticipation, it's amazing how our outlook on trading will change. But it becomes, this is the process that we have to go through. And this is where, 99% of trading seminars, trading courses come up short, because they don't invest the time that's really necessary to break old patterns and habits and then install new ones. Again, 60 to 90 days. So the keys to the neural associative conditioning process is NAC, neuro, nervous system, where experiences are received and processed through the five senses. Now, the neural associative conditioning, think about your senses: sight, smell, taste, touch. Taste? Well, I can't remember what I said. Anyway, visual. Mainly for as traders, our neuro is visual because we're looking at charts all the time, and we attach meaning to specific chart patterns. And you'll hear me talk about training your reticular activating system and the neural associative condition that you have to certain price patterns. And as we begin to look at these price patterns over and over and over again, we train that reticular activating system to recognize meaningful price patterns. Associative, how the neurons in the brain interact with each other. Okay? So how do we interpret the chart patterns that we see, the visual information that we see? And then conditioning, the process of making long-term changes rather than short-term, as programming defined it. So guys, think about this from your trading perspective. From a trading perspective, we have the neural, or the input that we're getting. I'm looking for a good way to explain it, but the input that we're getting into our minds, the neuro, is visual. The association that we have with those visual inputs that we're receiving is what creates our reality. It was what creates our trading perception. And then the conditioning is basically taking what we get and how we look at it and changing it so that we can look at it the way that's going to be most beneficial to us as traders. Stephen Covey noted, between stimulus and response lies our freedom to choose. The stimulus for traders is visual. We just talked about it. Price patterns, indicators, market structure. The response is executing the trade, entry and stop placement. And so guys, between the time that we see the trade setup and the time that we enter or don't enter the trade is the point at which the decisions are made. And what we want to do is get to a point where it's second nature. We talk about unconscious competence, where we see a specific price pattern, we enter the market. Once we enter the market, we know our targets are X, our stop placements go Y, and we manage our trade accordingly. But this is just a fantastic phrase. I love this phrase by Stephen Covey. Between stimulus and response lies our freedom to choose. You are ultimately responsible for your success or failure as a trader. You choose how you take trades. You choose what associations you're going to apply to the markets. And when you're successful, this is the best part. No one likes to be held responsible when things aren't going good. They always want to find somebody else to blame. But everybody loves taking credit when something good happens. And so guys, the best part about between stimulus and response lies our freedom to choose is that when things are going well, when we finally achieved consistent profitability, you have no one to thank but yourself, because you're the one who did it. You're the one who's redefined your perception, and you're the one who's followed your trading plan and your trading rules. So let's walk through some of this information for neural associative conditioning using the trend trader model. And guys, as we look at this, we see what's the setup here. The setup is the E line crosses the T line, and we get our entry bar. Now, neural, what's the visual? We saw the E line cross, we saw the bar plotted and closed for an entry. Our association, we're now going to look to go long. What do? Chop stop goes in. We take 5 pips from the top of the candle, top of the entry candle, plus 5 pips. That's our entry. So we use this if-then conditional statement to bring order to the decision-making process. If the E line crosses the T line, then look for a signal on the entry candle. Hang on. Look for a signal on the entry candle. If we get an entry candle signal, then we take the top of the candle, the high of that candle, plus 5 pips, buy stop. If our stop is triggered and we go long, then we place our targets 1 and 2 and our stop loss. If target 1 is attained, then we move our stop loss to trail 20 pips behind in anticipation of the market to continue to move higher. This if-then conditional thought process is statement. And the market moves higher after our buy stops hit. As you guys see, moving back here, look at the last candle. Buy stops hit, market pulls back ever so slightly, and then moves up and attains target 1. But only after you see this occurrence over and over will your belief about the impending move allow you to take the trade. Once again, reprogramming. This is why we do the back testing, guys. It's not just so that we can prove that the model's effective. That's part of it. But guys, when you've taken 500 trades, 800 trades per market, per currency pair, you've seen this occurrence. You've seen this setup over and over and over again. And you start to recognize how the pattern works. You start to see it work over and over again. And at the end of the testing, you can take a look back and say, yes, the model was effective. It was X percentage effective. It paid, X percentage, 2 to 1, whatever it was on my losers. And now not only do you have all that data, but you also have built a new neural associative condition towards this trading system in this market. And now you can trade it with confidence. But only after seeing the occurrence over and over again will you believe that the trade's actually going to happen. The science of programming your trading mind. Trading with discipline and confidence is a learned behavior. This is not something that we come into the market knowing how to do. This is not an innate skill. It's a learned skill. Repetition helps create the belief, and then consistent application becomes second nature. Now let's use the rules from one of our trading plans and take a look at it. Developing the model. Using a current trading strategy, let's go through the following. The conditional thought process occurs once the setup has presented itself. The setup is telling us that conditions are favorable for a particular trade. So we'll look at the syntax of trading. Basically, look at it like this. Syntax: the dog bit Mary. All right? Then Mary bit the dog. Same 4 words, very different result. When we change the syntax or order, we can dramatically change the outcome. And so when I talk about what is the syntax for the if-then statements that we make in our trading, this is what I'm talking about. Clearly defining what we do. Because guys, if we don't clearly define it, we can have very, very, very different results depending on how the syntax is put together. How do traders think their way to a successful trading career? Is it possible to remove emotions from your trading? Develop a trading syntax using if-then type statements, creating neural associations to the visual patterns that we all watch every trading session. Train your mind to take the same action on every occurrence and then repeat with consistency. Guys, that's all we're talking about doing here. Is setting up a set of rules that allow us to remove emotion from the decision-making process create neural associations based on the visual price patterns that we're seeing, and then take the same action when we see those price patterns occur and repeat it over and over again until it becomes second nature. You guys have heard the saying, trading is simple. And it is. But it's not easy. It takes, like I've said, 60 to 90 days to break the habits and install new habits. It takes even longer to get to a point where we can trade with consistency on a regular we can trade consistently. But developing the syntax using rules for entry, we start out with what I call ROE, or rules of engagement. Okay? And we have a rule for entry. E line crosses the T line, and we get an entry, the close of the entry candle. We place a chop stop for 5 pips, above or below, depending on whether we're going long or short. And then if our buy stop or sell stop is hit, then we place our stops and we place our profit targets. Now, what are your rules of engagement? As you guys begin to implement your own rules, your own strategies, your own systems, consider using if-then conditional statements. If this occurs, then look for this. If this is in play, then go here. If this is also overbought, then action. If-then. If-then. Think about it like a programmer does. We use IPDE. All right, this is an excellent way to look at it. It's based on OODA loop principles, which is a system that pilots used at Top Gun in order to gain a tactical advantage over their adversaries. We use the same thing. Number one, identify. Identify your trade setup. Predict what your risk profile will be on the trade before you enter. And we talk about this too, guys, predicting not only what the positive expectancy is, but what is the risk profile on the trade. We don't ever take anything that is less than a 2-to-1 risk profile. I'm sorry, less than a 1-to-1 risk profile. We prefer a 2-to-1 risk profile. But we want to make sure that we're not risking more than we're going to gain. Number 3, decide. Decide if it fits your risk tolerance based on the results of your trader's assessment. Okay? Decide whether or not this is going to be a trade that you're going to get involved with based on predetermined standards. We're not coming to the market, taking a look at the chart, and saying, yeah, today I feel like taking a 1-to-1 risk profile. No. What did you determine before? Do you take 1-to-1 risk profiles, or do you only take 2-to-1s? If you only take 2-to-1s, then you cannot decide to take this trade because it's outside your trading plan. And the reason that we make those decisions ahead of time is because we know when we're in the market that emotion skews our decision-making process. If we're having a good day, we take the trade. If we're having a bad day, we don't take the trade. By defining the rules ahead of time, we come to the game with a clear plan in place, and now all we have to do is trade the plan consistently. And last but not least, execute. Execute the trade based on your predetermined rules of engagement. Key word, predetermined. And an example of trading rules. If the RSI goes overbought, then we determine where's the price relative to structure. Looking at this on the divergence model that we teach in the course. We use the confluence of price indicators derived from price and structure to build SOS, or strength of signal. I call this building a case for entry. Stop is placed at blank with targets at blank for the scalper or for the initial targets, and then the trader will use the rules of projection for the exits on targets. And this is basically an example of how the thought process that one goes through to get from point A to point B. Target one hit, then trail stops based on market structure. And guys, we see this every day in the market. Execution of the trade is critical. Structure recognition, the trade is set up, the internal dialogue as we now go through the syntax, a decision-making process based on the meaning attached to each of the visuals being presented in the charts. And guys, great look at the divergence model here. Market comes into the 618. Consolidation, bullish divergence. This is the trade setup. Got the divergence at the 618. If we looked at this on a longer term time chart, we'd see the one-to-one measured move. And then trade is executed when we get a break of structure. Break above, close above, previous high. Gets us long. And we see this price pattern represented over and over and over again in the markets until it becomes second nature to us. The past does not equal the future, guys. This is so critical that you understand this. I don't care where you come from or what it is that you've done in the past. Trading in life, otherwise, what happened yesterday, yesterday's reality does not have to be today's reality. You can change your life. You can change whether it be your trading life or your actual life. The past does not equal the future. We tend to have to consistently have an internal dialogue with ourselves, and it's called self-talk. And this is conversation that goes on in your subconscious that helps to mold you. Remember, we act on our own consistent thoughts, and these thoughts are not always constructive and empowering. And guys, you've heard me talk about this before. When the trade's going against you, the internal dialogue that's going through your head as you're pounding the table and talking about how stupid you are and about how the markets, how the markets are out to get you, and any other of the wildly, just irrational thought processes that we go through when real money's at risk in the markets. This internal dialogue builds our reality. This is conditioning in and of itself. And one of the first things that we can do to prevent negativity in our trading is to change our internal dialogue. And one of the things I like to talk to traders about is guys, focus on what you can control. Guys, you can't control whether the market goes up or down. You can't. There is no one that I have worked with in the currency markets that has enough capital to move the markets. And even if they could only move it for a specific period of time. The market is going to do what it wants to do. And as you guys have heard me say, our goal, my goal as a trader, is simply to participate in whatever action the market decides to make. And everything that I do, everything that I look at, everything that I watch for is built around the concept of identifying where the market wants to go and then taking advantage. And again, we do this through price pattern recognition, through structure analysis, through clearly defined set of rules for entry and exit. But it does absolutely no good for you to hang on every tick in the market. Come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, get up there, get up there, get up there. Get down, get down, get down. That sort of internal dialogue is so counterproductive to what you're really trying to achieve. I cannot express to you enough. You've got to eliminate what you can't control. If you can't fix it, there's no reason to worry about it. Stop wasting your mental energy on those things that you cannot control, and start putting your mental energy into things that you can control. Namely, your own attitude, your own thought processes, your own trading strategy. all of the things that we talk about on a daily basis that help build successful, consistent traders. Markets are not living, breathing things. They're not out to get you. I mean, I can't count how many times I've heard, yeah, my markets are out to get me. It's not a thing. It's a collection of individuals. And no one knows what your position is. As a screen-based trader, you are invisible. That's not true if you're in the pits at the Chicago Board of Trade trading the futures. Everyone in the pit knows what your position is. As a screen-based trader, no one knows what your position is. And you can take advantage of the fact that no one knows what your position is. But once again, guys, you can't have a defeatist attitude about it. Values and beliefs. Values and beliefs are formed throughout our lives in all areas. Most of the time they come from parents, teachers, friends, and are built without our knowledge. We tend to accept and adopt the values of those we spend time with. In trading, you may have found yourself in a situation where you came into a trading session with an absolute certainty about your disciplined action for the day. Now, before we go any further, guys, great example of this as far as parents, teachers, friends, people who build our beliefs and value systems is, you know, I was brought up with a belief system that money was bad, that you know, people who had a lot of money were somehow misfortuning others. And so for a lot of years of my life, I had an adverse I was conditioned to believe that if I made too much money that I was somehow a bad person. That if I was successful as a businessman, that it was because I was cutthroat. Because I had to fight and scratch my way to the top by cutting other people down. That was the belief system that I had been installed with as a child. And what I find now that I've had a chance to identify those is that that is not at all the case. That having, you know, an abundance of wealth and an abundance of prosperity provides opportunity to do some wonderful things. And that you don't have to hurt other people and cut other people down to get ahead in business. That, as a matter of fact, the exact opposite is true. That the more that you lift up and empower other people, the better you become, the more successful you become. I'm here now in an attempt to empower and lift you up as a trader with the full expectation that it's going to help make me a better trader. With a heartfelt desire to see you be successful. It's a philosophy that I've used in business. It's a philosophy that I now use in trading. But guys, that was not my original value and belief system. It was much, much different. But it goes to show you that you can change those neural associative conditions. That you can change your perception on life. That your perception of reality. But again, have you ever come into the market with an absolute certainty about your disciplined action for the day? Guided imagery. The Olympic Training Center put 30 golfers to the test. Group 1, visually sinking the putt. Group 2, visualizing narrowly missing the putt. And Group 3 practiced putting on the greens. So we've got 3 different groups here. Number 1, all they did was sit in a chair and visualize sinking putts. Group number 2 visualized narrowly missing the putts. So they sat down and they visualized in their minds missing, not accomplishing their goal. And Group 3 actually went out and physically practiced putting on the green. Anybody want to guess which group did the best? Exactly, Group 1. Visualize sinking the putt. Group 1 performed 30% better than Groups 2 or 3. Actually, Group 2 performed the worst, but Group 1 performed 30% better than Group 3. who actually went out and practiced it. That, guys, that shows you the power of the mind. The power of your subconscious to direct your behavior and your actions. Think of a time when everything happened perfectly in a trade. Indicators set up just like you'd seen all through your testing. The market did exactly as you expected it would. You entered the trade, placed your stops, placed your targets, and the market went straight to your target. A one-way train, no pain, just profit. Now, how did you feel? What was your posture like? What was your breathing like? What was your hand doing on the mouse? What was your feet doing? What were your feet doing? How did you react when the trade hit the target? Visualize it. Remember it. Remember what that feels like. Are you starting to feel some of those feelings now? Do you feel that pleasure come back in? Through neural-associative conditioning, we can recreate those feelings by recalling the associations. Now, have there been times when the exact same setup presented itself and instead you hesitated? The market moved in your direction, hit your would-be target for an imaginary profit. Why didn't you react? Why didn't you act? And guys, what we do is we can install, with these neural-associative conditionings, we can install anchors. Things like words, things like actions. One of the things that psychologists will do when they start to work with people, be it basketball, one of the things Tony Robbins does on a regular basis, basketball players, golfers, those types of things, is they start to attach anchors to these neural-associative conditions, where when I'm doing something that I am really happy with, when I'm sinking the putts, when I'm hitting the baskets, when I'm placing winning trades, I'll use a key word or phrase or rub my legs when I feel like I'm on that emotional high. And I'll sit and I'll visualize myself being successful and achieving great results. And I'll install that anchor. And then when things are not going well and we're feeling ourselves being separated away from those positive feelings and that good imagery, we're beginning, our neural associative condition is beginning to become broken. We can reinstall that through the use of that anchor, through the use of that keyword, through the use of, that physical action. Now, why didn't you take the trade? Were you less capable? Did you know less about the markets that day? More than likely it was a result of your state, your trading state, not your inabilities, not your capabilities. And your trading state is your ability to enable your ability or inability to call on the resources we used when we took our first trade, the winner. What causes you to take some trades and not take other trades? Well, it's your trade state. It's your emotional condition at the time of trading. Our trading state is the result of the interplay of two key elements, our physiology, meaning our posture and breathing, and what we choose to mentally focus on, and just how we choose to focus on it. Discipline paves the road to accomplishment. And this is a great quote from Thomas Edison. If we all did the things we're capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. If we all did the things we were truly capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. It was one of the other ones I really like is, what would you do with your life if you knew you couldn't fail? If risk was eliminated, what would you do? When I asked myself that question, I answered I'd be a professional trader. And guys, it took a long time for me to get there. It took a lot of hard work. But it is absolutely possible. But if we didn't have those self-defeating beliefs, those self-defeating neural associative conditions, imagine what you could achieve. Imagine what you could achieve if you didn't know you could fail. That's what's really amazing, is people who just didn't realize how difficult it was going to be successful and went out and were able to do it just because they didn't know any better. But guys, your ability to be successful is going to start with redefining those neural associative conditions in your trading. Our state of mind is always the absolute truth. Perception is reality. When I feel confident, then I am confident. Psychology of the trader is still being defined, but it is my belief that fear and greed are still the biggest challenges that most traders face. This part of the training alone could be worth 1,000 times your investment and time in the capital as we attempt to determine the strategy that best suits your trading personality. Fear and greed, guys. I have an absolute belief that if we can eliminate the emotions of fear and greed in your trading, that what you will be able to achieve will just astound you. And once again, based on your risk tolerance, based on what your desire is to get out of trading and get out of the markets, will determine what type of trading system you use, what type of model you use, those types of things. But ultimately, guys, the purpose of this course is to take you from a fear and greed-based emotional trading state to rebuild those neural associative conditions that say winning brings me pain, brings me pleasure, and losing brings me pain, to a point of strict, disciplined trading based on a specific set of rules, where following our rules brings us pleasure and not following our rules brings us pain. It's that simple. And then, guys, here's a little quote that will be up, and you'll have this. I'll have this PowerPoint on the website as well, so you guys can take a look at that and read through this at your own leisure. That's it, guys. This has been an overview of basically neural associative conditioning, neural linguistic programming, what it is and how we use it in the markets. If you guys have questions or concerns, give me a call, send me an email, hit me on Skype, whatever it is that, however it is you best get in touch with me, whatever's easiest for you. And until next time, good luck and good trading.